All right, for more on the situation in Syria, we can now talk to Ali Rizk, a Middle East expert joining us live from Beirut. Thank you for coming on RT today. An Israeli website reports that British and Qatari special forces in Syria, they're there assisting the rebels. Now, if these claims are true, considering Western states and the Arab League saying they're against a Libyan-style scenario in Syria, where could this lead to, do you think?
I think it tells you how desperate actually the anti-Assad forces have become, whether it be the US or whether it be Israel or whether it be the so-called Arab moderates, certain Arab Sunni states. I think that now, after the Russian veto and after the Chinese veto dealt a severe blow to their agenda, now they're in a state of desperation where they'll probably stop at nothing to try and regain the momentum once again, because, as I said, they've lost a lot of momentum due to the veto. So this will probably mean more escalation on the ground, some more covert military operations. And on the political level, we've also heard that some Arab League countries, or the Arab League in general, is intending on officially recognizing the Syrian Transitional Council, the Syrian political opposition body. So I think this is something which is widely expected, and unfortunately I see that more violence will be in the making because of the state of desperation which Assad's foes fear they are in right now. However, we also do hear that the Russians, for example, are providing the most assistance as possible they can to the Syrians to deal with this issue. Now, don't forget that the Russian side has cautioned time and again of the rise of Islamist fundamentalists, or the presence of Islamist fundamentalists inside Syria, those who oppose the Syrian regime, and Syria has also spoken of them as well, Salafists and members of Al-Qaeda. We have to remember here that Russia has had its own share of problems in the past with Islamic fundamentalists, like in Chechnya, for example. So I think Russia here, at the time where the violence will escalate and some Arab Sunni states will try and get more and more involved and cause more casualties, I think at that same time you're going to see Russia also furthermore assisting the Syrian leadership to deal with these people, to deal with these fundamentalists.
As you say that you discuss the fact that Russia has had a past history with Islamic fundamentalists. As we all know, Moscow has been trying to bring all sides of the conflict to the negotiating table. Do you think this will work out, with the armed opposition still receiving strong political backing from Western and Arab states?
The problem is that in order to have negotiations, you need two sides to be ready to accept negotiations. Now, until now, as we heard, Bashar al-Assad, after the meeting with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, expressed his readiness. However, the other side is not expressing its readiness. There are some members of the Syrian opposition who are expressing readiness. However, there are other sides, a lot, including the Muslim Brotherhood, who actually don't seem to want to participate in negotiations and are setting preconditions. They're saying in order for us to enter negotiations, Assad must fall. And I think that is part of a Western agenda. I've noticed over the past few days, actually ever since the Russian veto was used, if you follow, for example, the American newspapers, you see a lot, you read a lot about how the situation in Syria from the point of view of the West and from a point of view of Israel is a way to curb Iran, to curb what we call here in the region as a resistance bloc, Iran, Hezbollah and Syria. So if you listen to what commentators are saying, they're saying that the viewpoint, the political stance is that if we overthrow Assad, then we've dealt a severe blow to Iran's presence and we've dealt a severe blow to Hezbollah, two of Israel's staunch enemies. So I think the fact that many people or many Syrian opposition are not ready to participate in negotiations is the fact that the whole thing for the West is not about negotiations. It's about overthrowing a regime which is part of a broader bloc which Washington or which some Western states, Western powers want to get rid of, including Israel also wants to get rid of them. So I think because of that specific agenda...
I do apologise because we're running very, very low on time here. There are many political analysts who do bring in the Iran issue, that if indeed there is a regime change in Syria, it would enable Western powers to get more of a clinch on Iran. But do forgive me, we're running low on time here. I must ask you one question. We've got reports today that Lebanon's security officials say that a suspicious cargo containing huge amounts of US dollars, guns and passports have been seized in Beirut from the US. What's your take on that discovery? Because a couple of minutes ago you made the mention about covert action ongoing in Syria.
Yes, actually, I did hear that report about this issue, the US dollars and money. Lebanon, from the very beginning, has been a big part, unfortunately, of the infiltration into the border and of weapons smuggling. You have to remember here that the Syrian regime, Bashar al-Assad, does have his fair share of enemies inside Lebanon. He has his allies like Hezbollah, but he also has his enemies like Saad Hariri, the former prime minister, and the March 14 movement, who I think find it in their political interest to assist as much as they can to overthrow Bashar Assad. And it is also said that this March 14 alliance is joining forces with the Salafists and with the religious fundamentalists. So this comes as no surprise, and the Syrian ambassador to Lebanon made it very clear 1 week ago when he said that most of the weapons and most of the infiltration, most of the smuggling is coming in from Lebanon. And unfortunately, as the escalation from Assad's opponents continues or increases, I think that you're going to discover more and more smuggling and more of a negative role from some Lebanese in the Syrian issue.
Well, indeed, there have certainly been reports in recent days and weeks about weapons being smuggled over the border from neighbouring Iraq and Lebanon. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for Middle East expert Ali Rizk. Thank you for coming to us live from Beirut.